This is the Beige and The Bold, and today we are watching Symbiosis again. However, it will now be Skireliosis. I am Van Velding. I have seen this episode 100 times, but never with the explicit fun of making fun of Martin Skireli.
And I'm Derek, and I'm ready to tear into this gimp-faced motherfucker.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, engage. So, yes, the deal is that whenever we preview every episode at the end of the previous episode,
Right.
And whenever we finish Arsenal of Freedom, we read the summary for this one, and we're like, "Oh, good, this will be ripe to make one or two, a tasteful, reasonable, restrained number
where it made sense,
Yeah, as needed. Martin Skireli jokes.
Yeah.
There was a gap in production, and we kind of forgot that.
Yeah. We're human, folks. Human. Unlike Martin Skireli, who's just some sort of cross between like an imp and a goblin of some kind.
He is, I think, half Albanian, half Croatian.
That's racist.
I assume imps and goblins come from those countries as well, so let's go with that.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So, in order to fulfill that promise to you, we as people...
Our viewer.
As people who self-conceptualize... There's like 12 of it. To self-conceptualize ourselves as good people who make good on our word.
Yep.
We are watching this.
That's still funny. It's still funny. This little. It's like, hey, can you Photoshop? That sphere. Personifying Martin Skireli's just baseless ego. Yeah, sure. Bloop, 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 bloop. There it is.
I think it's the shutter he puts over his heart every day, because the dude is human at his core. We can't deny that.
Is he? I mean, I feel like that's why we have Starfleet here, to investigate that fact. Data is perplexed. They're magnetic fields. There are fields that are making this irregular. We don't know what he is. All we do know is that his ego has grown so large that the Enterprise can't exist in its general proximity.
The magnetic fields of this unpredictable star make contact with things light years away from it, whereas Martin Skireli is incapable of making even simple human contact with the people around him.
And he tries. I mean, he trolls the way Wesley tries to show how smart he is. And, he just wants people to give him any kind of attention. So we're obliging. We're doing the thing that he wants, in hopes that he'll learn how to actually function as a human adult. Is he an adult? I mean, he's about the height of a teenager, right? He's like, what, 4'8", 5'1"-ish?
The measure of a man is not how tall he stands, but his standing with those around him. And to be honest,
but those around him
Skireli is the most punchable man in America. So
there's actually another biotech startup that is looking into what is it about his face that engenders violence, and because we're looking to see if we can find an antidote. Because if we can, then maybe there's world peace.
Possibly so. So the deal is that he's the guy who is desperate for attention, as you said. He attempts to buy rappers, which notoriously, the phrase "street cred" was born specifically to talk about how rappers don't answer to shitty white dudes. With
and I love the fact that he tried to even get more street cred by showing some YouTube video with some black dudes he paid that he doesn't know, and asked yeah, man, Skireli's a hard dude. How much did he pay for this? $2,000? All right, I can say it. Yeah, he's a hard dude.
Weren't those guys on Hamilton a week later?
I don't know, probably. I mean, they're obviously desperate looking for work.
Well, I mean, they're just actors, Actors will do anything.
Actors gotta eat, for sure. They gotta eat.
Yeah. I mean, pay people money to love you. That's Skireli's whole deal. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, no, I'm sure, he was raised Catholic, and so, when he went to confession at some point, I'm sure a priest said, "Hey, look, no one's ever going to love you, dude, so you're just going to have to pay money for it."
Yeah, that's a guy who, if he had been born at a different time, would have bought a lot of indulgences.
Yeah, straight up just every week. Just massive indulgences.
Yeah, so I don't want to grab random historical figures just to back up our loathing for this guy, but Martin Luther is on our team. Called him. Yeah, Skireli can pick the next guy. You can have Joan of Arc or something. I don't care.
Who knows?
But I mean, we got Martin Luther.
Yeah, yeah. So let's get some. Yeah, he had like
he had like a whole Bill and Ted dodgeball thing.
Ooh, I would play that video game. Bill and Ted versus Martin Skireli in dodgeball.
I was thinking Dodgeball 2, Bill and Ted 3. Basically, something Vince Vaughn goes through time dodgeball team.
Nice.
Martin Skireli. I would be great if after the 20 minutes of setup, it is just Martin Skireli getting hit in the face with the dodgeball from people throughout
like
history.
He's like basically in like he's like a post. It's like this post. He's like tied up to a post like as if he's in kind of a witch trial, right? You know, but then like they just haul him like just a piece of set throughout time. They plop him in one spot. You know, like they're in like the 1200s. Like, all right, here's a rubber ball. Go nuts. What is this rubber? Doesn't matter. Throw it at the Skireli dude. He's an imp. Doesn't he look like some goblin here to eat your children? And then obviously that's true. And so they would just pelt him in the face with dodgeballs repeatedly.
I don't think we should tie him up. This isn't like a Walter Palmer versus Martin Skireli thing.
Yeah.
Reference to the line that got killed by that douchebag Dennis. It is... yeah, it's just an entire list of the most hated people in America.
So that then brings into question: are there Martin Skireli impersonators? I mean,
no.
I imagine you wouldn't want to do that.
You can't do that for a living. Like as a small business where people professionally pretend to be Martin Skireli because there's no insurance company in the world that would cover you.
Yeah, no,
for your small business.
Yeah, it's like no, we would cover 5 Jackie Chans doing the most dangerous stunt imaginable before we would cover anyone in your industry.
Yeah, including being in a nut job too. Haha, cheap shot. So, yeah, no, I would much rather see a movie where Martin Skireli backs the recording company that makes Bill and Ted's Wild Stallions.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, Wild Stallions. Yeah. Well, that's the name of the band, not the album.
Right. But you know, he backs their band and their album, and then he used that to steal the time machine from Rufus,
right?
Who we can just cast with a skeleton.
Yeah, because... yeah. Well, I mean, that's a little close to home. I mean, George Carlin is a national treasure, and God rest his soul.
He would love it.
Yeah, he would.
Anyway.
He would think it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, you put a white goatee and a ponytail on a skeleton. George Carlin fucking love it. Skireli just pulls it out of the phone box, and he's like, "I'm going to go through time, and I'm going to like make an army so I can rule the earth or whatever. Like do the whole Vandal Savage thing. Yeah. And then like in every time." It just cuts to, he's like, "Hello, Romans, I will be a new Caesar." And then it cuts to 5 minutes later, he's being punched in the face by Romans. Repeat for every era of human history.
Yeah, and just
fucking Mayans. And we'd
have just like human leather skulls wrapped in human leather, like soccer ball style, like him just being pelted in the face with like these Mayan like kickball soccer things.
You know, it can be educational. You can have Mansa Musa in there. You can have Genghis Khan.
Yeah, it'll
be great.
You just need to like kind of characterize the method of violence for the era of the time, and just people can kind of identify. There'll be a quiz later. It'll be fun.
Exactly.
I think these engineers for this ship graduated from like the Martin Skireli School of Engineering, where anything learning how to do in order to save your life is worth paying someone else to do.
What they probably did is they went to the same internship high school that Martin Skireli went to.
Oh yeah, because the jackass is such an idiot, he didn't fucking finish, right?
Well, like that's debated. I don't want to like shit on a person for not finishing high school. Like decent human beings have not finished high school. Also, possibly Martin Skireli. So,
okay, that's
the thing is that he went to like an internship high school, which is like, you know what? Our interns aren't young and stupid enough to realize they're being exploited for work in exchange for a piece of paper. Let's see if we can get actual certification.
Is that like Juilliard for like people without a soul? Just like I want to send my kid where they will learn that making money is more important than human empathy. Where would I do that? Ooh,
look,
I know.
You and I, as Americans, don't have stereotypes about Albanians and Croatians.
That is true.
But I think we could start stereotypes about Albanians and Croatians about their inability to raise fucking children.
But you don't think the Albanians and the Croatians might take umbrage with that? I mean, maybe maybe they even themselves like, no. The Skireli parents, yeah, they're fucktards. We don't know anything. We don't know how to do anything with them. Like, you can have them. You can make them Americans, Canadians. You can kick them out. We don't care.
Look, they have presidents or prime ministers. They have diplomatic staffs. They can respond in any way befitting a head of state with that august, respectable, considered...
I eagerly await, like, the Croatian ambassador for a phone call to Beige and The Bold.
I'm sure that they're fine, respectable people with governments. They can also, should they decide to, eschew all of that respectability and respond via Twitter. However,
just like our current president. All right,
and I'll be, I'm open to that. However, until they do, I think it can stand. So, are the Albanians bad parents and the Croatians are bad at picking high schools? Or you want to swap it?
No. I think Croatians would be the worst parents.
Croatians are bad parents. Albanians bad at picking high schools.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. So, so anyway, I mean, Wesley's going through an internship here, but it's actually teaching him stuff.
Yeah. He's actually kind of marveling at the things that he doesn't know, which is nice. You know, unlike Martin Skireli, who just assumes he knows everything, and the moment that he's proven wrong, pretends like that never happened.
I mean, it's possible that this high school did teach him the skill set, which involved conning old people out of their money and then leveraging social media to short sell stocks. Possibly. I mean, those are his only core competencies.
I imagine for extra credit, he was part of the club that teaches you how to, take a break. Like the company you owe millions of dollars to, let's say Lehman Brothers, and them going bankrupt before you can actually have to pay that bill, and then refer to that site as just somehow a skillful manipulation of et cetera, et cetera. That's probably what. The taking credit for literally anything club? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. When you're part of Executive America,
yes, Executive
taking
America.
credit for things you didn't do is kind of your deal.
Yeah, that's true.
Meanwhile, everything else that happens to you is good luck. When we really know for a fact everything good that has happened to Martin Skireli has been good luck, because he's no different from any other asshole on Wall Street.
Yeah,
he is
true.
A completely average human being. He's just lucky that his manipulations didn't get investigated by the SEC until 2015.
Right, and
because he was stupid enough to go public with it.
Right, and that's the thing. You know, it's been pointed out on more than one occasion that the only thing he did wrong was really just be audacious about his kind of behavior. You know, what he engages in is no different than a lot of funds that are still trading in Wall Street to this day.
Yeah, no, I mean, the dude's 34 years old, and yet he's as stupid as a 17-year-old, which records the crimes he commits.
He's like, ooh, this is going to be such a super cool tweet on Facebook. Like, I mean, a message on Facebook, everyone's gonna really accept me, and I'm just really going to have fill that void in my soul for human acceptance, I guess.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that he thinks that somehow just talking about the way he's manipulating the system and, gaining money without actually providing any value to people who follow him is somehow a commendable trait. Like, his entire life system is so cancerous that, one, it produced Martin Skireli. Two, he thinks he should be lauded for anything he's ever done in his life when he's done absolutely nothing in his life. Yeah. He's contributed nothing to the human race.
Right.
He is in the negative column in terms of things he has contributed to the world
he's hindered
as a whole.
The way the teleporters are hindering this idiocy from getting on board of the Enterprise, he's hindered the human race in actually taking steps forward in medical technology.
So which one of these atavistic half-wits do you think is most like Martin Skireli?
Well, I mean, I think that we could say...
Okay, we're going to call him David and Lowell, and then Lady... And let's just go with Bronzer, right? Can we agree on like a common name
Bronzer?
So people know who we're talking about?
Yeah, no,
Bronzer. Okay.
Bronzer.
So what's your bet?
Well, I mean, I feel like Bronzer is definitely has the personality of Skireli. He definitely has the business. Well, I don't know if he has the business acumen because Lady tends to kind of hold that front. He just gets into slap fights at the earliest possible convenience.
Yeah, Bronzer has the lack of real depth that makes you seem as a two-dimensional caricature of a business person. You're like, there's no inner life to this. There's nothing but behind the eyes. And definitely, when you hear about Martin Skireli, you think, yeah, there's no life behind those eyes. It's just a completely surface level. This isn't a real human. It's just a poorly written, farce.
Yeah.
It's like if God just called in sick for one soul out of billions.
Yeah. It's like, no, I'm going to pass on this one. I just need to take a break, you guys. After what is it, 8 billion souls since the dawn of man, I need to take a break.
Yeah, this one's just going to be a flush cartoon.
A caricature, to show the rest of the humans what not to do.
Yeah, I don't want to, do psychological zombies. I've always felt like that's phoning it in, but I'm so sick and got respiratory infection.
And here we go, swapping hot lightning, which is probably some sort of sexual euphemism, I imagine.
I'm sure that's what he thinks of whenever he gets off. He's like, I could do that kind of stuff. So, but with money, he imagines electrocuting people with a checkbook.
Yeah, and one of the good things that did come out of Skireli, thinking he's as important as these kind of two douche nozzles, is to show hey, listen, there are some things you can't buy. For example, he couldn't buy the Wu-Tang album outright. Wu-Tang would have sold it to him. He had to actually go create a different organization to purchase it as a private investor, and then revealed it later.
It is true that literally random shell corporations are more likable than Martin Skireli. I mean, we recoil a little bit when we deal with something that ends with LLC, but honestly, that's 5 levels above Martin Skireli.
For sure. I mean, humans...
Porcupines with AIDS.
Yeah.
Cleons with no pants.
Yep.
A black hole, but it's off color. You're a red black hole. That doesn't belong here. Not Cthulhu, because Cthulhu's cool, but Cthulhu cultists who were likable generally. Especially
the Cthulhu cultists who kind of hold back the other cultists from doing Cthulhu's work.
Yeah. Because you get into a cult and you're like, all right, let's do the thing. And then some cultists are like, I don't know.
But we do this.
I've got soccer practice.
Yeah.
Worst cultists. No one likes them.
Yeah, exactly. They don't devote their lives to the cause.
Yeah. And then down there at the bottom, of Republican voters. So then below that, Martin Skireli. It's too lazy. I think that joke was too lazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, consider the political climate. I mean, there's some parallels to be drawn. I know, legitimate Republicans who are like, how the hell did this happen? Much like all of humanity looks at Martin Skireli's business decisions, how the hell did this happen?
Yeah, truly. Truly. I mean, even, professional, intelligent Wall Street people that, Skireli pretends that he is whenever he's alone in his underwear in his apartment at night.
Does he have, briefs that say, Wall Street, underoos? Wall Street underoos?
I think he does. It's Monopoly Guy and Dollar Sign. But those are his role models, man. He looks up as Gordon Gekko and Monopoly Guy above his bed at night. So
teach me what I should do, Monopoly Guy. I'm being investigated by the SEC.
Right, yeah, no. In here we have these people being deprived of medicine that they need. I mean, Merritt Butrick, actually died of AIDS complications.
Yeah.
So we talk about, diazepam, right?
Diazepam.
Right. Its price being increased. I think was it 50 times?
Yeah.
For toxoplasmosis and I think malaria treatment for people with compromised immune systems, including individuals with AIDS, children, old people. Toxoplasmosis comes from cat poop. Malaria comes from mosquitoes. Yep. So these are things that people get.
Or mosquitoes just kind of flying Skerelis with needles in their face.
I would not put it past him to actually infect people with the disease simply so he can use the fact that he is the sole holder of the license to produce a drug to make people pay more money for it.
Which is not too off the bar here. They just weren't smart enough to actually develop a disease. They just happened to come across one that they could cure and then also switch the cure for drugs and make a ridiculous amount of money. And if you had a planet of Skerelis, what would be so interesting is that they would develop much like Bronzer and Lady here because they didn't diversify at all. There's like, no, all we need is just this sweet money we're getting from these hapless dopes. And then all of a sudden, some people with half a brain comes in, i.e. the Federation, and says, hey, look, actually, this is all drugs here. And then says, you figure it out later. And then the dopes that you've chemically reduced to kind of imbeciles get one over on you, and then you figure out that you don't know how to do anything other than exploit people.
I don't know. These bejazzled douchebags are at least a couple of steps above Skireli.
Yeah. I give you that. I mean, fashion sense alone. Look at those arms.
I mean, they think, these people will never realize their disease because they're constantly high on stuff.
Yeah.
But Skireli thought that we would honestly believe that if he passed the cost of the drug on to insurance companies, that we wouldn't end up paying for that.
Yeah.
Like, look, if you want to stiff AIDS patients and old people for treatment for their diseases, that's shit. But if you're going to pass that cost on to insurance companies, dude, we all pay for that garbage.
Yeah.
So, like, do you think we're that stupid, or are you that stupid?
Yeah, well, I mean, he
those are
obviously
your two
thinks
options.
the sad thing about his delusion is that he believes he's the smartest man alive. And so, it's evidenced by, when he engages with, let's say, Patton Oswalt on Twitter, when he used to be allowed on Twitter.
Oh, did this happen?
Yeah. Oh. He invoked Patton Oswalt's recently dead wife in a Twitter exchange. And it's just like, wow, really? Like, you thought that you could... just do that. When was this? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
2 months ago.
It's like, I mean, win, W-I-N. I just, you thought you could win with this.
Oh, win.
Like,
yeah.
It's like, don't get into a war of words with the writer.
Yeah.
Don't get into a quip battle with the fucking comedian.
Yeah.
What are you, an idiot? And you thought, I'll just say something terrible and inhuman.
Yeah.
That'll get people on my side.
Right.
I mean... Really?
And the funny
I know we're not supposed to use the R word anymore to refer to people who have mental deficiencies.
Yeah.
But the word Skireli is not in the dictionary.
What are you, a Skireli?
Fucking Skireli? You thought that would win?
You thought you'd Skireli this up and no one would notice? I mean, come on.
That was the opposite of clever. What are you, some sort of Skireli? I just...
It kind of rolls off the tongue. I think it's worth doing. Put hashtag what are you, Skireli?
There's a law where it's like people who are stupid don't realize how stupid they are.
Right.
And I think we need to make Skireli mean that. Just to stand in for that.
Yeah, and it's funny
the Dunning-Kruger effect. See, look at all those syllables. Dunning-Kruger.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Effect. It's like 6 syllables. Skireli.
Yeah, it all just kind of rolls off the tongue. I mean, that's the one thing that... is somewhat pleasant about Martin Skireli that he has no hand in, is that his last name is easily pronounceable.
Is it?
No, it probably isn't. But we can all mangle it. Who cares?
I meant to go into this intentionally mispronouncing it, but I honestly forgot. I mean, maybe I am. I've just settled on one consistent pronunciation.
Exactly. As long as you do it relatively consistently, it's easy to know what you really mean.
Yeah, I'm sure the guy isn't listening. Because he's trying to build his street cred by buying rappers. But also waiting SEC investigation. But, if we have pronounced your name correctly, we sincerely apologize. That was never our intention.
To
show you the basic respect of having the knowledge of your name or how it's pronounced.
Yeah, we just didn't...
We find you contemptible as a human. And if the human race was a reality show, like in the episode of South Park, which you just undoubtedly love because you're a predictable mook, If we were a reality show, we would definitely vote you off the island.
Oh, yeah. Right off the bat.
We just really lack the legal means to do so because other, more skilled, rich douchebags have made it very hard to vote you off the island.
Yeah, so, props to them for keeping you in the muck with us. Here's hoping we can just find a prison cell for you where we'll never have to remember that you exist again.
Yeah, when the revolution comes, buddy. Anyway, so these guys are crashing hard on drugs because they need drugs. And they really think they're going to die. You may not realize this, Mr. Skireli, but the feeling most of us are experiencing is called empathy.
Yeah.
It's when you imagine that you could ever be in the same place as a person who is suffering.
Yeah, and this also might surprise you, is that empathy is so widespread that writers can use tried and true techniques to actually produce a certain amount of empathy in the audience because it's an easy assumption to make that a human is going to empathize with another human in pain.
Most people feel that. You don't because you're broken.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you try to do, whether it is, being more likable than an LLC or thinking that you're somehow smarter and cleverer than people who are legitimately smarter and clever, to fill that hole in your soul, to convince yourself that you're not broken in some way. I'd strongly advise to not do that and seek psychological help. That's really the only way it's gonna work out for you.
Yeah, the interesting thing about these Breckians, or maybe they're Onarians, I don't give a shit, is that they do come out of this, even though they will probably be held hostage by the other race once, because they beam down to the Onarian planet, right? The Breckians. But the Onarians aren't going to get any more medicine. So the first thing the Onarians are going to do are going to grab these people and hold them hostage. Yeah. Lady, by the way, here is... Anyway. Yeah. So, they're probably going to die. But here's the deal.
Small comfort.
It's not going to reduce their net worth to zero the same way that you had to leverage all of your money to get out on bail. I guess for the very important purpose of not being raped in prison repeatedly.
Yeah, which is
and
totally...
to make shitty YouTube videos.
Which is totally still going to happen.
I mean, I don't think we live in a just universe, but... I think
come on,
just going to prison.
Bernie Madoff, got fucking nailed in prison. What does Skireli make? What makes Skireli think that he's not going to get similar treatment? I mean, come on.
No actual thing, but the attitude of Martin Skireli, where he believes he can just not deal with federal prosecution by refusing to answer questions. And then also calling elected officials imbeciles.
It's just so funny to me because you have legitimate, not so much legitimate, but just business people who have a certain level of acumen that can sufficiently, get away from kind of federal investigation. And so people are breaking these laws all the time. And so
smart people.
Yeah, actually exactly. Smart people. And so Skireli observes this. It's like, oh man, this is super easy. I'm going to fucking do it too. And then, predictably as a 17-year-old does, documents all of his crimes via social media because he wants approval. And then wonders why the Federal Bureau of Investigation looks at this and says, is this guy for real? Like, I mean, he knows we're going to investigate him, right? Like, he can't not know. What's he up to? And then after some months of debating, like, nope, he is that dumb. Nope, it's a true story.
Yeah. I like that these guys also sense nothing wrong with what they're doing. Like, they don't expect it to raise any red flags.
Right.
Whenever, everything Martin Skireli did, it raised flags on both sides. Like, even the rich sons of bitches
it was like, hey,
that these people answer to are like...
way too much
to tone it down, or else everyone else will realize what we're doing.
Everyone's gonna know, you jackass. That's the first rule of Fight Club, you dummy.
Yeah, the first rule of Wall Street Club. So I mean, these guys are getting a little smarter than that. Half Albanian, half Croatian guy who should never. If he eventually does pay a woman enough money to marry him, and I suppose she will also live in Trump Tower, then he should definitely let her pick out the high school for their kids, is what I'm saying.
Let her pick out the high school and just do any kind of forward-facing PR. Just never get in front of a camera or behind a microphone again. It's not working out for you. You just need to know when your shortcomings, all of yours happen to be extensive, and you just need to sit out and let someone else who's more capable handle
everything
these
about
things.
them plus everything about him plus all the things he does are his shortcomings.
True. Yeah. I mean,
it's descriptive summary. So,
I mean, a high school student, the hypothetical 17-year-old that we've been talking about could look at what the practices of Martin Skireli and be like, wow, why is this guy such a jerk? Like, man, if I was going to do that, I wouldn't have done the things he did.
I mean, none of them, right?
Yeah.
Be a little subtle about it. I do want to mention that the conversation here is predicated on the assumption that the chemical exploitation of other people is wrong.
Right.
Giving other people drugs is wrong, even if it's beneficial to you.
Right.
Because it is harmful to other humans. and the life and well-being of other humans is worth more than any amount of money.
Right, and this is how the healthcare system that we have is kind of broken, because it allows goblin ogres like Martin Skireli to just
ogres are big.
Yeah, ogres are big. I was trying to figure out like a goblin, fairy goblin. No, something. Troll.
Let's just call it a mutant pixie.
A mutant pig. I'll take it. Mutant pig. Like Skireli, who doesn't have any kind of empathy. It allows them to make a ridiculous amount of money because they can exploit the situation of producing medicine for the sick into financial gain, and it doesn't show any sort of business acumen on Skireli's part. It just shows how broken our system is, and how often people who are smarter than him succeed doing the same things that he probably saw somewhere in a textbook.
I mean, just imagine that if you're Martin Skireli and you have no talent, but you didn't give a beach to a senior partner during your high school internship.
And he didn't give you that super sweet idea. It's like, man, if I was you, dude, I would totally just hike that medicine up 500%.
Then you would be an assistant janitor in a New York high school or something.
Yeah.
And the lack of money needed to pay for your medicine would make you sad.
Yep.
Instead of being something that you lorded over your aging parents, who will get nothing when you're in jail. Because God knows you didn't put anything aside.
I mean,
be bad. And most of us would feel bad on your behalf.
The one thing that your parents, you've made history in one respect, that you've actually had parents who wish that you've never been born. Like, that's never really happened. Like serial killers. Napoleon Bonaparte.
I mean, John Wayne Gacy's parents were like...
Yeah, they still love him. I mean, like, we wish he didn't do those things, but I mean, he's still our son. Like, they say those sentences are going to come out of your parents' mouth.
Yeah. I mean, his dad is like, I wish I never came. I apologize for this.
Yeah. He should have been a blowjob, like, honestly. Like, the mom's like, I was going to do it that night, I just was lazy. Yeah.
I'm a little hungry right now. I regret it.
I need a quick shot of protein, and then Mr. Skireli here was like, "Oh, well, just have a sandwich, and then we can just bump uglies." And then
it was a peanut butter sandwich. I thought I had everything covered. It was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah,
it's Jif's fault.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we can't see the future. You can't predict that you will give birth to the one human being that has the ability to
be Martin Skireli.
Yeah,
I mean, Hitler's parents were like, we could have a Hitler. They're like, we'll roll the dice.
It'll be all right.
Martin Skireli's parents could have never anticipated.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had known, they'd have played it differently, son. They'd have played it very differently.
No, and all of us would have been better off for sure.
Yeah, we just assume they're decent people, basically.
Yeah, I mean there's
no
reason.
We don't want to characterize them. We just assume they're decent humans.
Yeah,
and that they would regret giving birth to this Backpfaffenskite fate.
Yes. I mean, I think that part of being a parent is to recognize that you can't do everything right. At some point in time, you're going to kind of mess up.
And sometimes you're going to roll double ones.
Yeah, and your parents just rolled double ones. I mean...
it's a D20, the odds are 1 in 400, you had advantage, you fucked it up, it happens sometimes.
I mean,
Some
they were
people are just
all
bad
out
at rolling polyhedrons.
They were all out of fate points, too, so there was just no...
Totally out. Totally out. Martin Skireli is the only guy that can go in front of the Senate, and at the end of it, you're like, wow, he was clearly the asshole in this scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the Senate, who once again, refuses to fix healthcare. The Senate who sent a whole generation to war just on the off chance that we'd kill Osama bin Laden. The same Senate was like, wow, what a jackass.
Yeah. So anyway, Data's turning back to his console, but we assume he's not turning back to his console to write a letter to the FDA suggesting against the approval of 2 drugs that a pair of companies are about to launch solely for the purpose of shorting stock for those 2 companies. Because Data has an ethics subroutine.
Yeah.
He kind of knows what
and
ethics
at
are.
the very least, he's not going to sign it with "lol, I can't believe they spend so much money on this. We should hike it up even more."
So yeah, but that's that's what Martin Skireli does. He produces nothing, kind of like these freighter captains. But then he just buys things that other people have done, and he
like it's like Italian Job. Have you ever seen the movie of Italian Job, where it's Edward Norton's character essentially like double crosses like all of the other criminals to like steal all of this money, and then he doesn't actually have any dream of his own. All the other people had a dream what they were going to do, spend the money on. He didn't have a dream of his own, so he just copied everyone else's. And that's kind of what Martin Skireli has kind of done throughout his life. He's just been this hapless dope who's been at the right place at the right time and had no breaks or social empathy to do the things to give him a small amount of what we determine as success in money form, only to have it all squandered away covering up all the things he shouldn't have done.
Yeah, getting sued by companies he actually founded. Which, let me tell you, he's probably never going to have any children because, again, he's an unlovable human.
Yeah.
But the deal is that he's made companies. Those companies have been fired and then sued him, which is sort of like when your children grow up to be a better person than you.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is the extreme version of, no, Dad, don't kiss me before I go to school. The SEC is watching.
Yes. I don't really want to have any association with being related to you.
No, seriously, I'm not embarrassed. You're a terrible human. I want nothing to do with you legally.
I tried to get emancipated, but they said I'm only 9. So
I'm trying to imagine a kid in a bassinet at like a hospital room where it's like 50 of them, 50 kids in the room.
Pleading with the nurse, like, just switch me out. You've done it. You've done it before. I can't go back there.
It's a squirming baby with a pen, and his lawyer's right there just trying to sign the emancipation paperwork. Just like, nah, I can't be around this guy. I can't be associated with him. It's bad for my brand.
Bad for my personal brand.
His mom's in the next room. Look, he only has 10 more minutes before his money's up. Yeah. He's got to put some more quarters in the bank if he wants me to continue being the mother of his child.
Yeah. I mean, I can't be expected to do any actual mothering. I mean, look who I married. I mean, you think I would marry this dude and also have any shred of human empathy? I do not.
This was transactional.
Yeah, I was gonna. This kid was gonna nanny up the second I could. And
look, if nanny up, if Martin Skireli was Zorg in The Fifth Element, choking on a cherry behind his desk, the priest would not pat him on the back. Yeah. That would be a short ass movie.
And if he did that, and the only help he had were actually robots, the robots would like. There'd be literal seconds, which I know you don't know this because you don't understand, probably basic math. But seconds to a robot who can operate on milliseconds, that's a long time. It's like super.
Here's Dr. Crusher giving a look of judgmental outrage that every person should meet you with all the time, constantly. The people who don't, you're probably going to give money to.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. You see that. You see that on the street. And you're like, why does everyone have this weird phase? It's just because you're a deplorable human being. They can't understand how your mind works. It's genuinely baffles modern psychology. We don't understand.
Let me say the worst thing about you. I could say you are worse at being a human being than Gates McFadden is at acting.
Oh man! All right. Well, I mean,
I know it's hurtful.
I didn't know.
I'm tempted to take it back, but I think that's true.
No,
I think it's true.
Yeah, I mean, Gates McFadden's acting does have this kind of Skireli type characteristic to it.
She gets it in the ballpark as far as being human. You could turn a dark alley, watch Gates McFadden scene, and go, "She's an actress." Skireli being a human? No, not really. Not at any time, not at any part of the day. The lady is like, I know you're a reptile from space, but you did pay in advance, so I guess we're going to have sex. It's fine. I'm a New York prostitute. I've done worse.
Yeah, if you're a prostitute in New York, you've seen it all, right? I mean,
even Martin Skireli.
Yeah. And so, I mean, but the thing that Martin Skireli doesn't realize is that he can't have like genuinely respectable prostitutes. They have standards. You're gonna have to scrape the bottom of the barrel, man. I mean, if you're gonna want to spend at least $100 on a prostitute, you're going to have to like convince someone who's never prostituted before because everyone knows your name, dude.
You know, strongly disagree. I think there are a lot of professional prostitutes whose sole stock in trade is making Martin Skireli believe that he is lovable.
Yeah, he's one of those guys
likable.
Like, no, I think she fell for me. I think she's the one.
Sheandra's off tonight. We've only got Leandria, and she can only convince you that you're liked. It's very hard to convince you that you're lovable, Mr. Skireli.
Yeah.
Because you're not. You're not lovable or likable. And again, it's her night off.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Like, he hires these prostitutes just to like coddle him and like make him feel like loved, and then the moment that his time's up, it's like, all right, you're gonna have to pay me $500 more. We're gonna keep doing this, and it's like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make other people pay $500 more than what they need.
The faces of these drug addicts are basically how Martin Skireli feels with prostitutes who are good at their job, and she's basically Martin Skireli. I think she's the most Martin Skireli-like. I mean, because you want to punch her the hardest at the end of the episode.
Yeah, and she has kind of the same self-importance. Like, I'm doing something good here, and you just don't understand it. And it's like, no, you're just so deluded you don't realize what's happening here.
She's like, I've been polite. I think that's really clever. It's like, no, that's the baseline. Like, the base, not clever.
5-year-olds. 5-year-olds can be polite. It's not hard. Like, what you're doing is just something everyone else does because they have, let's say it begins with an E, empathy.
Yeah, it would be great. A fantastic alternate end of this episode is if Imprimis Pharmaceuticals showed up with like a cheaper generic brand version of the drug.
Yeah. Just
to completely undercut everything these Siegfried and Bitch are doing right now.
Right.
The same way they undercut everything Martin Skireli has done. Just by making cheaper drugs that he assumed no one would ever make.
I mean, all he was
Skireli.
trying to do is kind of like, cash out and then just pretend like he's kind of God's gift to humans because he can write a check with so many zeros and maybe it won't bounce because he hasn't done anything stupid this week. But he's genuinely just a blip on the economy's radar, and he's not done anything that's going to have any lasting legacy on the human race. And the sooner we can forget about him, the better.
I mean, he's sort of a do not story for the human race, but
a cautionary tale.
Yeah, I mean, Hitler's the reigning champ, and someone better is going to come along, so he will be forgotten. Yes,
yeah,
which is possibly the only comfort he can take. Eventually, everyone will forget that we produced a Martin Skireli, which is probably the worst thing for the human race, for Albanians, and for Croatians.
Yeah, so wow. I mean, who knew that Martin Skireli was this bad? We could fill up 44 minutes of a Star Trek episode, huh? I was a little worried for a second. I did not think we could do it. But then I realized, wow, no, there's a lot here. He's actually just such a deplorable piece of human garbage that it constantly astounds me that he isn't able to recognize some of the basic things that humans are able to realize.
Let me contextualize this conversation. In this conversation, these people talk about principles they hold, which prevent them from doing things they want. Hang with me here. Yeah. Because it would be harmful to others.
Ooh.
And these are principles that actually most people hold to some degree.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And that they deprive themselves of gratification in one form or the other.
It's almost like they have a sense of duty, maybe?
To something higher than themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're... I'm going to pronounce this very slowly for the benefit of our listeners.
Yeah.
Good people.
Yes.
They are a kind of people who are good because they care about others. People maybe they haven't even met. People who, hang with me here, will not give them money later.
Just yes. It's very important. They're not paying each other. They they don't want bad things to happen because they share the one trait of being human, and that is enough.
They value, intellectually, but also personally, the happiness, freedom, and self-determination that other people have, whether it benefits them or not. Again, they're not exceptional. They're ordinary people. Picard's a little better than most.
Yep.
He's actually disgusted that he's had to deal with people like Martin Skireli. He's thinking of Martin Skireli right now, and how these people remind him of that guy.
Yeah, and it's important, Skireli, if you happen to be listening to this, because you really have no free... you don't really make any kind of
anything.
Yeah.
Contribution to the human race.
So if you've
the
come
best thing
across
you could do with your time would be to listen to this.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And so, if this is true, what you should kind of remember here is, I lost my train of thought. I feel like I'm all Skireli'd out. I feel like I got.
I mean, don't kill yourself, but you should probably change everything about yourself, both mentally, physically, and I said both, but morally too. Everything about yourself until you make all of us a little less ashamed of being human and living on this planet.
True story. We don't have anything to compare humans to, and we're still ashamed to be human. Like, we're at the top of the food chain. No one's judging us, but we're still like, oh, man.
Learn Chinese. Get a facelift.
Just do
get
something.
your dick cut off. And live in Tibet. Just whatever you can do to make yourself more different from how you are now.
Yeah, in the Himalayas, in a cave with no human interaction. That would be the best.
I mean, talk to people if you gotta, but opposite to however you do it now. Just become the bizarro Skireli, and the human race will benefit.
Yep.
We will still punch you in the face, though.
Yep. No, true story. I would love to, man. It would just be like a dream come true. Just any kind of bad thing that was happening that day, just to have it released on that such punchable fucking grin, it would just be a good day. It's a good day. Yeah.
So anyway, I guess that's all we've got for Skireliosis.
Yeah. We came in over for sure.
All right. So I guess next week we're going to be doing Skin of Evil.
Yep.
I'm sure that'll be great. We already talked about that in our first take for this episode. So until then, remember